Hey y'all, welcome back to the Bless Our Littles podcast. This is a show where I help parents to become the parents that they were made to be. It's my mission to give you the tools on how to raise children with love, connection, and empathy. So let's get into today's episode. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Bless Our Littles podcast. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a message that I received from a client of mine about a moment when she lost it on her 2.5-year-old son. And I want you to know, if you're a yeller, this episode is going to be so good for you. It's going to walk you through basically the root of what was going on. And it's going to give you, I feel like, tools to help you not to yell in the moment, but also to help you think and dig a little deeper into, why did I yell? So this way it doesn't continually keep happening. I'm also going to walk you through the repair process and why I feel like that is so important. So I hope that this episode is helpful, but let's get into this message that I received. So this is what she texted me. I lost it on my son just now. And she put crying faces. I yelled so loud, I scared both of us. More crying faces. When I got this message, I felt so bad. My heart was racing because I have totally been there. And I think that's the really cool thing about this parenting paradigm, is that it's not about being a perfect parent. And it's a lot of times these moments, how we respond is teaching our child how to respond in that kind of moment. And if we are not repairing, if we are not apologizing, these are moments that our child is learning how to communicate and how to interact with other people. So I was feeling really, really bad for her. And of course I said, can I have more context so this way I can help you kind of navigate what was going on for both you and him. And this is what she said. That morning after I woke up, I walked out into the living room and there was throw up all over from my cat. My son, who's 2.5, was all wound up that morning, so I put on a show. He kept wanting to change the channel, so I set a boundary and was like, no, I'm not playing this game. I'm not going to change the channel again, or the TV is going off. I was hungry and I hadn't eaten breakfast yet at this point. So after I got everything cleaned up, I made breakfast for the kids and I. And then out of nowhere, my son went over and knocked over my daughter, who's 1, and was sitting on the floor playing. Then I lost it. I yelled and I put him in his room so I could calm down. When he came out of his room, he didn't want anything to do with me. I wanted to apologize, but he was so busy and just didn't want me. My question is, how can I engage in the repair process when my son is not wanting me? I want to bring him through his feelings and needs, but he doesn't want to be anywhere near me. Please help. So I read this and I was like, whoa, she is having a really big morning. There was a lot of factors going on. And so the first thing was that her cat threw up, which would upset any of us. She's probably feeling like, I want to be productive. I want to get things done in my day. And this is setting me back. For a lot of us moms who have young children, toddlers especially, we feel like we're on a clock because we have that nap time. And if we want to have nap time to ourselves, we need to get all of these things done. And I think we expect ourselves, at least I know I do, to get a lot of things done in these little time crunches that we're not going to get all of that done. So I'm just going to assume here that that's kind of what was going on for her. Then she says that her son was really wound up and she decided to put on a show for him, but then he kept wanting to change the channel. So she decided to set a boundary. And after talking to her a little bit, I understood that he was not listening to the boundary and she was feeling really frustrated, and that was irritating her more. So we're seeing, not only was she irritated now with the cat and probably the fact that she wasn't getting things done, but then now her son wasn't cooperating, and she, wanted to be able to clean this up and get this done so she could eat breakfast, which brings me to my next point. She was hungry. She was, she woke up, her body was feeling really hungry. I know that she's a nursing mom, so she's probably definitely really hungry, and that's also going to change the way that she responds in any given moment. So she gets everything all cleaned up, and I had asked her if she had eaten breakfast yet at this point, and she said no, because she was making breakfast when her son went over and knocked her daughter over. And so you imagine she's starving at this point. Her son is now knocking over his sister, and I know the little baby was just bawling her eyes out. And mom is just feeling so sad for, the daughter, and is going to start blaming the oldest for not listening and for not doing what he was asked, which, I'm not sure what that was in this moment, but he was not doing what he was asked, and that was really irritating her. So because she had yelled and scared herself, she put him in his room, and then she decided that she needed time to calm down, which was actually, I wouldn't ever advise putting your child in their room, because at that point you're basically saying love is conditional. So you're taking away that connection and saying, if you're not going to behave, I'm going to, retract my love, because that's how they look at that. So I'm not sure that was the best move, but it did give her the opportunity to calm down and really think through things, which was good. So then she comes to the conclusion that she really wants to apologize and make things right with him. And he's been sitting in his room by himself, and he just darts out and wants to go downstairs and go play with, whatever he's interested in. And I can imagine as a parent, the rejection that's coming here in this moment, the feeling of, I want to be able to be there. I want to be able to apologize, one, to get this off my chest, but two, to let you know that I'm still here and I'm still your mom and I love you. And I didn't mean to do this. And, as you're going through coaching, you're learning all these strategies, and you want to use them. And it feels like, I'm sure she's feeling like she can't use it here. So her question, which is, how do I engage in that repair process when my son is not wanting me? I think before we address that, I think we have to go back and talk about her thermometer. And this is something that I'm going to talk about a lot here, is where we are at on our thermometer. So let's give this a scale right now between 0 and 10. And let's say when the cat threw up, she was already at a 6 because she was like hungry. And then let's say when her son started giving her a hard time about the channel, she's now at a 7 or an 8. And then once he knocked over her daughter, she's at a full-blown 10. She's never had time to come back down, ground herself, so that way she can show up appropriately in that situation. And so my first thing that I would say is, when the cat threw up, let's recognize where we are at on our thermometer, and let's start there. Let's start calming our body down there. Let's let ourselves know, hey, I'm safe. Yeah, this is going to set me back a little bit, but let me put, my son on a movie, and let me get my daughter, a quick little snack to keep her busy. And no, it's not ideal. I don't want him on screen time, and I don't want her eating a snack before breakfast, but I can clean up the cat throw up. Nobody will get into it. I can do it quickly, and it'll be done. And, I then understand, he's 2. He's asserting his autonomy here. He's wanting to, pick and choose and, change his mind. He's kind of just developmentally, that's where he's at. And as a parent, that can be really frustrating. And in this moment, she's trying to set a boundary. And I'm not sure that this was the best moment to try to set a boundary, because she's already dysregulated. If she had regulated herself and used one of her calming tools to get herself to be calm from the moment that she saw the cat throw up, and then was like, okay, I'm going to get him, onto a movie, and she's still feeling regulated, I think then at that point she could set the boundary. But I don't think mentally she is going to be able to show up for him when he pushes back from that boundary, because he's going to push back from that boundary, especially because he's feeling mom's dysregulation. Which leads me to my next point, which is at her son's age. So he's 2.5. Between the ages of 0 and 7, a child is 100% reliant on a parent for their regulation. And for me, I almost think about this like an invisible line. Like, instead of the umbilical cord, we have an invisible line that we're attached to, and my kids are constantly feeding off of what is going on for me. So if I'm fully regulated and I'm doing good today, they're going to have a really good day. If there is anything off in my day and I start kind of slipping, I'm starting to feel that dysregulation happening, my child is also going to feel that, but they're not going to understand why. I think often we don't even understand what's going on, but for them, it's really confusing, because it's like, why do I feel this way? I don't know why I feel this way. And so I imagine he is feeling her dysregulation. So let's say in this moment, let's just say she is at a 6 on her thermometer and he is also at a 6. There was no way that that boundary was going to go well for either of them. He was not going to willingly say, yeah, okay, mom, sure, I'll just keep on this, I won't change the channel again. I just want to leave it on here. And she surely was not going to show up in a way that she was proud of. Okay, so moving on. After that, when she was making breakfast and then her son went over and pushed his sister, and I know she hit her head on the couch, and granted, she is 1, and so those things are really big to them. They're going to cry. But I can sense that really infuriated her, because she felt like he was being a problem that morning. And I imagine in that moment, he knew that. And so what I was seeing was he then hit his sister out of what is called primal panic. So he was starting to feel like, I have this feeling in me. I'm feeling, he doesn't have words for it, but he's dysregulated. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make this change. I know I'm needing something. And I'm going to assume subconsciously he was knowing that he was needing connection with his mom. He was needing connection because he's feeling more and more disconnected at this point. And so regardless if it's a good or bad, he wanted attention from her to try to achieve that connection. And it didn't matter to him if his behavior was, naughty or bad. What mattered to him was that he was going to get her full-on attention and hopefully get that need met. And clearly that, did not work. It, made her more mad. But then, she went ahead and put him in his room, and then that probably made him really angry and really confused, and then he comes out and, she just ignored him in his room. Obviously she knew he was in there, but, he was probably throwing a fit in there, because any child, if you shut the door, is going to, throw a fit in there. And then he comes out and he's essentially treating her the same way that she just treated him. And for her, she feels like he's a child and, probably he should obey me. He should be listening to me. But he's just doing what, you just taught him to do. So with all of that being said, now that we can kind of understand the context of what was going on for her that day and probably for her son, and we kind of start to pick apart, what was really going on beneath the surface, probably more of the root. I think that engaging in that repair process meant that they both were going to need space, but not space as in go put him in his room space. Obviously, all of that happened, and, there were parts of it that wasn't ideal and, whatever that may be, but it happened. And so now that they're going to engage in this repair process, I think that letting him run out, get his toys, start playing, sit alongside him and play too. And then when you're feeling like the tension has lessened, maybe then go into an apology. At 2.5, she is 100% right. She says at some point he's so busy and he just doesn't ever hear anything I say. I know she's told me before that, things kind of go in one ear and out the other. And so I am going to say that I think that is 100% true, that 2.5, they have a really hard time sitting. But, talking to him while he's playing or doing something he's really enjoying, he may not be verbally saying, "Oh, it's okay, Mom, I understand," but it's just the process. He's seeing the process. He's learning. Our children are gaining their subconscious in those first 3 years, which means they don't need us to explain really anything. They're just making sense of it, via their surroundings, their what's going on, how we're responding to things. They are just literally little sponges. So how can she engage in that repair process? I would say let him come out, play with his toys, come alongside him and play with him. If your child is into drawing or walking, any of these things can be a great way to give you guys both the space that you're needing, right? He needs to cool down and you need to cool down, but then you're able to come back together and have that repair process. Now, she's saying that she wants to bring him through his needs or his feelings and his needs. And I think that can very quickly be done either through the process of her mourning. There were opportunities that I think that she could have made him aware of his feelings. But I think that the after, she can also share that, if she's apologizing about what had happened. And then, she says, and I also do want to talk about this that happened, with the TV. I really, Mom was feeling frustrated because you kept wanting to switch the TV, and it seemed like you were feeling angry. And maybe in that moment you were needing to choose. You were needing, you can even use words like autonomy, even though it's a really big word. Again, he's learning and he's going to learn what that means. And so she could do that in that process. Again, very quick, very short, not like he's going to be sitting there for 5 minutes listening to her lecture, because that really is going to go in one ear and out the other. But just, being there for him and sharing with him basically what she's seeing, kind of sportscasting it, making some empathy guesses, as we like to call them, I think could be really helpful in this scenario. Now, the last thing she says, but he doesn't want to be anywhere near me. So this raised a little red flag for me, because I started to say, does her son feel safe with her? Does he feel like there's a secure attachment where there can be a little bit of tension or disagreement, or even like a rupture in the relationship, and yet he feels safe enough that the repair can happen? And it is hard at 2.5. Kids are varying in how their abilities to talk, and my daughter happened to be very verbal, and my second daughter, she is not quite as verbal. And so I found myself with my second starting to not, how should I say this? I was treating her as if, because she couldn't talk, she couldn't understand me. And instead, I started switching that to treating her just like I do her sister. And I'm gonna be honest, eventually she learned. Within a couple of weeks, she started understanding when I would say to her, "Hey, I can see you're feeling really frustrated because you want my phone. I can't give you my phone right now. You can either give it back to me or I'm going to take it." And she would, for the longest time run away with it. And then I would have to take it, and I would tell her, you running away is telling me that you need help. So I'm just going to take it from you. I think in these scenarios, it's really important to remember that we are there to help our child through this moment. It's not our job to fix it. It's not our job to change it. So if he is rejecting her and let's say he's not feeling like he's in a secure attachment with his mother, what she can do is she can start basically working that muscle. And so by doing that, that might just mean if he only would allow her to sit outside of the room, then sit outside of the room. And the next time something happens, try sitting inside the room. But I think that we as parents, we are like, okay, well, I'm ready to change who I am, so I'm just going to come and scoop you up and start hugging you. And that's not going to change anything. I know for my daughter, that was the last thing that she wanted, was a big hug when we did not have a secure attachment. And now she's running to me, begging me for hugs. Like yesterday, we sat in the rocking chair for what felt like a majority of our day because she just needed cuddles and loves. And she just kept saying, Mama, I just want to hug you. And I think that is showing that, she has really made that shift in attachment. And so, we really had a very, insecure attachment prior to me going to school. And then after I had been doing this for, 8 months, she finally broke loose and could trust me, even though I still make mistakes, even though I do still yell sometimes, and I'm not proud of that. But I know that we have worked our muscle so much that we're not going to lose the entire muscle every single time something pops up. So that would be my advice to her, is to just kind of start flexing that, muscle, to start trying to kind of use it and to really see what level of comfort he will allow from her, and kind of just keep moving forward with it until it's too uncomfortable for him, and then give him the space that he needs so he can start to trust and go into that moment with presence. Go into that moment not trying to fix, just simply holding space. I want to do an entire video on holding space, but I think that for right now, just to say, going into a moment not trying to fix something is basically holding space. It's a really good way to think about it, so you can show up and just be able to be in that moment for your kid. Let the emotions fly, let them have whatever meltdown they're having, and you'll be really surprised that they probably won't melt down as much, especially over the same thing, because they don't feel like they need to. They don't feel like they need your attention, or they need extra connection. These are, I feel like, one of the ways that we can start to strengthen that secure attachment between us and our child. So my last thing that I'm going to say is I had invited her to also start the safe space corner. This is something that I actually created an entire PDF for. You can get 2 of the free posters just by signing up for my email list. I can link that below. But basically, I believe it's 7 posters, but I created these with my daughter. So my 3-year-old daughter and I sat down on Canva one night, and we spent 2 hours creating these. And so all the pictures are based on what she thought these different feelings were, all the different needs are. And so I invited my client to put these up. And when her son is feeling dysregulated, say, hey, let's go to, you can call it whatever you want, your safe space, your cozy corner, your comfy corner, your calm down corner, whatever you want to call it. And, let's start with your feelings, and you could just start there, talk about what he's feeling. And then when you feel like he's ready, graduate to what he's needing, adding that on. And then, there's 2 other ones that are about some calm down tools. And so I basically give you a calm down toolbox that you can use to help your kids engage in figuring out what tool they need to use to help calm their bodies down. The one sheet goes by behavior. So if they're feeling like they need to yell or to hit or to kick, and then the other sheet is just different senses and how to use those senses to help calm you down. So this can be a really helpful tool, especially for these toddler years. And what I don't want you to do is say, my child is too young for this. I don't believe that any child is too young. It's how we approach it and how we invite them into it, and also not what's the word I'm thinking of here? I'm not holding them back from being able to try out these different things. I'm not I guess my expectation for them isn't like, oh, well, I don't know if you can do it, so I'm just going to wait until I know that you can do it. It's like, start introducing it to them now. And over time, they're going to just grow, and their brain is going to start to grow, and they're going to start to trust, and their security is going to become strengthened. And then they are just going to expand and be able to really apply these things to their everyday life. So with all of that being said, I hope that this episode was helpful. I hope that you were able to gain some tips, also some insight on how to kind of dig into the root of what's going on for you. And I hope that you do download the Safe Space posters. I feel like they are so helpful. And I mean, my daughter loves them. She loves crawling into she actually has them in her bed. She loves crawling into her safe space and telling me what's going on. We've been using these for a little over 2 months now. So I used them before I ever gave them to anybody in my community. And I kind of just tweaked some things, changed some things, and this has just been really helpful for our repair process, for helping her to understand what she's needing, why she's behaving the way she is, why she's feeling the way she is, and kind of being able to connect the dots. So if that is something you're interested in, like I said, in the description below, there will be a link, and you can grab that there. So I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, make sure that you comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you have questions, I highly recommend you emailing me. My email is alexis@blessourlittles.com, and you can send me your stories, and I will share them here on the podcast. So anyhow, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next episode.